Well, good evening and welcome back to our midweek study, our midweek service here at Solomon's Porch. So tonight, as we've been going through the Psalms in the last several weeks, we come tonight to another Psalm. We come to Psalm 140, 140. And this Psalm tonight, I have titled this study, I Know You Deliver. I know you deliver. And I did that because, well, as I started reading through this psalm that we're going to take a look at in this study tonight, I noticed that's exactly what was happening in this little prayer, in this little psalm of David, King David. And so as we go through tonight, I want you to keep in mind not only the title, I Know You Deliver, but I want you to keep in mind that we serve a God who absolutely does deliver on His promises, on His blessings, on His faithfulness to us. Hopefully by the end of the night you'll be able to see that, and you'll agree with me if you don't already. Let me first start out our actual study by asking you. You know, we've had a lot of practice as of recently because we haven't been able to get out. Restaurants have been closed, and we haven't really been able to get into places that we normally would. So we've been doing a lot of at-home shopping or a lot of dining out and bringing food to our house. You might even have been doing a whole lot of dialing up on the telephone and ordering food to your home, ordering for things to be delivered to you. I know that my family and we've done a lot of that recently, and I like that in one aspect. I do miss all the home-cooked meals, and I do miss being able to go out and just be normal and go into society and sit down in a restaurant. But we have gotten pretty good at this delivery thing over the last few months. And there's one thing that sticks out in my mind. There was an instance where we ordered food, my family and I, for dinner one night. And time went on, and our food never arrived. And so then we called the restaurant, what's going on? Oh, we lost your order. Oh, we can't deliver. And that upset us. And we remembered that. And we probably always will remember that in one way or another. So as we order food in the future, that might not be a place that we choose as a family to patronize or to order from again. That might not be someplace that we choose to have delivered to us because they weren't faithful in their promise to deliver food in the first place. And maybe during this time you've experienced something similar. We like it when people are faithful to their word, faithful to their promise, and they deliver for us. We don't seem to want to do business with anybody who will not come through for us, who will not deliver for us. It doesn't matter if you're talking about ordering food and having that food delivered to your house, or maybe you purchased something online or from a store somewhere and you had that package shipped to you. The process that they use to deliver your package to you, there's all types of different mail carriers and package carriers and couriers for that type of thing. The one that does not deliver, you don't want to use anymore. And so I'm sure that, like I said, this is something that we can all, in one way or another, be on the same page about. And if we're not already familiar with this failure to deliver. And so David, as he begins the 140th Psalm, we see that idea of delivery. David recognizes that he needs something. And so he calls up God, and he asks God to deliver for him. And so that's where we pick up in our psalm. And what we'll do together tonight is we will read through this entire psalm together, and then we'll come back and see three main points that I want us to see in this study tonight. As we look at this title, this text, this study, I Know You Deliver. Psalm 140 says this, Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adders' poison is under their lips. Selah. Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man, who have purposed to overthrow my goings. The proud have hid a snare for me, and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Selah. I said unto the Lord, Thou art my God. Hear the voice of my supplications, O Lord. O God, the Lord, the strength of my salvation. Thou hast covered my head in the day of battle. Verse 8. Grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Selah. As for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Let burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire, into deep pits, that they rise not up again. Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. And so that's Psalm 140. And like I began by saying, David is the writer of this psalm, and David starts out addressing in order. He puts out an order to God, not in a commanding sort of way, but in a requesting sort of way, a pleading sort of way. So as we begin to look at Psalm 140 together tonight, we see that I know you deliver, God. I know you deliver. I know you deliver three things: preservation or protection. I know you deliver justice. And I know that you deliver salvation. So those are the three elements, the three main points that I see here in this psalm that we're going to study and we're going to look at in depth tonight. So there in verse 1, David is crying out to the Lord. We don't know what the trouble is. We don't know what the problem is. But we do know David has a problem. He has something that he is struggling with in his life, and it gives us the impression here, after reading this psalm, that it is another person. That it is somebody who he is considering to be an evil man, an evil person. He says, deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. And right there we know this evil man is the same evil man that we all face at some point in our life. Most of us continuously being attacked by the evil man. So this evil man could be Satan, our great enemy. David has an enemy, and he addresses him as the evil man. Now this first use of the word evil man in the Hebrew was singular. So this is one person, and then he goes on in the rest of that first verse by saying, preserve me from the violent man. And this here, at this point, violent man is used, it could be used either in the singular or the plural form. So this violent man, it could be other men that are coming and attacking David. It could be maybe himself. Sometimes we can be our own enemy, can't we? I know that I've been my own enemy, and at times can be my own worst enemy. And so this could be who David is talking about, either in the plural form or in the singular. But David is saying, deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man. And he goes on, he says in verse 2 and 3, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, Continually are they gathered together for war. They're always attacking me. They're always coming against me, he's saying. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder, a Middle Eastern snake, a very poisonous snake is what he's talking about here. Like an adder or a serpent. The poison is under their lips. They're spreading lies about me. They're talking bad about me. So in these first 3 verses here, we see David crying out to God saying, "Deliver me, O Lord. Deliver me." We all at times can feel just like David is describing here. People are coming against you, one person, many people. Sometimes it just feels like we're under attack from all sides. Sometimes we've done nothing to deserve it, but yet it feels like we are under attack and there's nowhere that we can turn where that we're not being attacked in one form or another. And David goes on to say, look, it's these people with these lying lips. Their words are like a snake's bite or a poison that is under their lips. They're spreading falsehoods. They're spreading lies about me. They might be trying to downplay my character, trying to make me look bad in front of people. And you might be someone that is dealing with this or has dealt with this in the past. I know for personal experience, I have dealt with this sort of thing. And it's never a good thing. And so David is crying out, Lord, deliver me in these first 3 verses as we look at his prayer that he's making to God of preservation. God, preserve me. God, protect me. In these first 6 verses that we're looking at. But in those first 3, we see David crying out, God, deliver me. And then he continues on in verse 4, keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have purposed to overthrow my goings. The proud, in verse 5, have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Selah. So here David is saying, Lord, keep me. In verses 4 and 5, he's crying out, keep me, O Lord, keep me from the hands of the wicked. Don't let them get at me, Lord. They're coming against me. They're trying to knock me down. They're trying to overthrow me. Lord, help me. Lord, keep me safe. Keep me from harm. He says there, preserve me. Keep me where I'm at, Lord. Preserve me. And in verse 5, he goes on to give us the illustration, the picture that these people that are coming against him may be much like yourself. Maybe you feel like everybody's trying to trap you up, and that's what David is feeling here. This is what he sees going on in his own personal struggles, is that everywhere he turns, people are trying to lay out a trap for him. They're trying to ensnare him with ropes, with nets, with all kinds of traps. This word gin used here in this verse is another word, another name for a trap. And so then we see the net, and the net is used like a snare. You would catch fish in a net, or you would catch a small prey in a net. And so David feels like he's under attack, and everywhere he turns, he's being tripped up. He's being lured into a trap. And so David here is saying, Lord, help me out. Keep me, preserve me. And so we continue on in verse 6 where he says, I said unto the Lord, thou art my God. Hear the voice of my supplications, O Lord. Here in verse 6, we see this. We see David crying out, God, O Lord, hear me. I'm in trouble. I'm in a bad spot. I'm in a rough situation. I'm being trapped. I'm being lied against. I'm being attacked. Lord, hear me. Hear my cry, O God. And so there in that verse, that wraps up our first section there, where we recognize David is crying out to the Lord for help, for God to hear him, for God to keep him. And all the while we see that God that he is calling on our Jehovah as, O Lord, in that first verse, our covenant-keeping God, we see that David is crying out to him because he knows from experience that God will deliver. Remember what I said, we won't call on people that we know won't deliver for us. And so David is crying out to God, God, I know that you're going to deliver for me. Please do so. Keep me, protect me, preserve me, O Lord. And so we move on into we're going to skip over verse 7 for just now, but we're going to come right back to it in just a moment. So we'll go on to verse 8 through 11. And in verse 8, it says, David continues on, he says, Grant not, O Lord, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked device, lest they exalt themselves. Selah. And so as we begin looking at verses 8 through 11 here, we see that David is also crying out to God, and he's saying, I know that you're going to deliver for me some justice, Lord. You know, God, our Jehovah, he is a covenant-keeping God. He is always on the side of right, whether we at the time are on the side of right or not, our God always is. And so David is placing his hope, he's placing his trust in that factor or in that aspect of God. And so David is crying out and he's saying, look, Lord, I'm now crying out for some justice. I know that you'll deliver. I know that you'll come through with me because you are a God of justice. And who does he want justice for? Well, in these first few verses, in verses 8 through 11, he wants justice for these enemies that he mentioned earlier in the psalm. But in verses 8 and 9, we see David crying out, God, oh Lord, stop them. Stop these evil people that are coming and attacking me, that are trying to trip me up, that are trying to trap me. Lord, stop them. He says, grant not the desires of the wicked. He says, let their plans that they have against me, let them fall apart, Lord. Don't let them succeed in what they're trying to do. Verse 9, as for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Right here we have an idea, or we're given an idea, that maybe the enemies that David is referring to here might be Saul. You know, David was running from Saul. Saul was the king. He had lots of people that worked for him. He had armies and commanders. He had all type of counselors and cohorts that were after David. So now David is referring to the head of those people. So he could be referring to Saul here. We don't know. But nonetheless, David is saying, Lord, at this point, don't allow these evil men, don't allow the ones in charge, don't let any of them that surround me or compass me about to succeed in what they're trying to do. Let the mischief of their own lips, those lies that they're spitting about me, those things that they're telling people and trying to mislead them about me, maybe those cohorts that they're trying to get on their side, don't let any of that succeed, Lord. Allow me some justice here. Allow their lying lips to work against them. And so he continues on in verse 10. And in verse 10 and 11, we see David crying out, God, O Lord, punish them. These evil men, these evil, wicked people that are coming against me, my enemies, Lord, please punish them. And so in verse 10, he says, let burning coals fall upon them, or the justice that's going to rest on their head, the justice from our just and right God. Lord, if you are a just God, as I believe you are, you will allow them to fall into their own traps, that you will allow them to maybe get a taste of their own medicine, Lord, that they will reap what it is that they are trying to sow, Lord. I just ask that you would allow them, Lord, to fall into these deep pits that they're falling into, or that they're trying to put out there for myself. Lord, allow them to be victim of their own devices, Lord. And so he says, let not an evil speaker, in verse 11, be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. So he's saying, God, please allow evil to go to the evil. I'm asking that anything that they try, Lord, that it's going to fail, and that in turn, because you are a just God, because I believe you to be a just God, because I know that you deliver upon your promises and that you are a covenant-keeping God, because I know that about you, I know that you will deliver justice for my evil enemies, Lord. Allow me to escape unharmed, but deliver justice to those people, Lord. Justice for the ones that are in the wrong, Lord, might be punishment. But justice, in my case, Lord, might be the fact that I am preserved and I'm able to see my enemy getting into trouble. That's justice, and we all seek justice in one form or another when we feel like we have been wronged in life. And so that is what David is doing here. As we continue on, remember we skipped over verse 7. We're going to go back to that now, and we're going to look at that in relation to verses 12 and 13, which finishes out this psalm. And we see that we can say, I know you deliver, God, because of your salvation. It's because of your salvation. What do I mean? Look at verse 7. Verse 7, David cries out, O God, the Lord, He is the strength of my salvation. Thou hast covered my head in the day of battle. Lord, you have always been there. I know that it wasn't me that kept myself safe. I know that I went through some bad situations. I've been in fights, and I never would have made it out, Lord, if you hadn't been there protecting me and covering me. It wasn't a physical helmet that I had on my head that kept me safe. It was you, O Lord, that kept me safe. It was you, O Lord, that covered me and protected me, Lord. Thank you for that. Thank you for your salvation. Now, as we look at verse 7, we kind of see a familiarity there. Remember, in Ephesians chapter 6, we're given this explanation and this encouragement to us that we should be picking up the whole armor of God, and we should be putting on the whole armor of God. And there in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 17, we have an explanation or a description of our helmet of salvation. Now, I don't think that that's by chance. That's exactly what's being referenced here. David is saying, God, it is you who protects me. It's you that saves me from these bad situations, from these evil traps, from these battles that I've been fighting, these wars that have been raging on in my life, and it's you that's been saving me, protecting me all along. Lord, I know that you're going to do it again because you've done it before. All those other battles that I've been in, all those other times where I've needed your help, where I've pleaded with you, begged you for your salvation, you've come through for me. God, I remember that. And God, I am calling on you because I know you're the God of salvation. You're going to do it because you've done it before. You're going to do it again. And so he continues on in verse 12 and verse 13 with this same idea. Verse 12 saying, I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. He's saying, I'm in trouble. I'm in a bad spot. I'm in poor spirits because I'm being overwhelmed. I'm being attacked. And yet I know, just like in verse 7, I know that God's going to be there to protect me, to lift me up, to save me from my situation, save me from my trouble, because He's done it so many times before. I know. Remember the title of our message, I know that you deliver. I know it because you've done it before. God's not going to do something just once for you and then forget about you or cast you aside. God loves you, and if He's done it before, He's going to do it again. Know that. David is saying, I know. I have confidence that you're going to do it again, O Lord. Thank you for that. And so he continues on. He says, surely in verse 13, surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. Surely, Lord, I know that you're going to do these things, that you're going to save me, O Lord. And because of that, I'm going to give thanks. I am going to praise your name because I know that you're going to deliver me. I know that you are a God who delivers, a faithful God who fulfills his end of the agreement, his end of the covenant that he has made. God, I know that you are a God of salvation, that you will deliver me, and for that, I'm going to go ahead and give you thanks for not just today, but for all of my days. God, thank you. I'm going to give you thanks, Lord. And then I am going to dwell in your presence. I am going to stay at your feet. I am going to continue to trust in you, to love you, to seek you in all that I do. I am going to keep honoring you. I'm going to keep praising you. I'm going to continue giving you thanks because you deserve it. Because you alone, Lord, are the only one that really will deliver. He's saying, I will give thanks and praise to you, O God, for delivering, protection, and justice and salvation. We need to know that we serve this same God that David is referring to here. And that when we are in trouble, when we're in a bad place, when we're struggling, we need to know that we can call on God and know that our doorbell is going to ring, that our package is going to be delivered, whatever we're asking for. God is going to deliver it because he loves us, he cares about us, and he does not want us to fall victim to the plans of our evil enemy. God loves you. Don't ever forget that. But most importantly, we have to remember that because we serve a God that keeps his promises, that is faithful, that is just, that does save us from all situations that we might find ourselves in, we need to give him thanks continuously. We need to give him praise with our mouth, out loud, for all to hear, for him to hear. All the time, in all things, give him praise because he deserves it. He alone is worthy because he is a God that I know will deliver. Do you know it? I hope you do.